Hey guys, how's it going out there? So I did that video, did those couple of videos about the worst tactics or the worst like SOPs and TTPs I'd ever seen, and I said that I might do one on the best, and somebody else brought that up to me the other day, so I thought I'd kind of started on that. So I might have to break this into a couple of videos again, but I'll caveat this by saying that the things that like I saw that were really well done, or that were really well done by my unit, or units that I was, a part of or connected to. I'm not saying that we're the only ones who ever did anything like that. I'm sure other units have done similar things. And it's definitely going to sound like I'm talking shit about a couple specific units, which I guess I basically kind of am. It's basically, it's game footage. You can't judge the football game for what you wanted it to be. You have to judge it, by what you saw on the field. Kind of no particular order here. So, I guess I should take that back. By far and away the best one that I saw that we did was on my second deployment. So we had a new company commander, new battalion commander, second deployment versus my first deployment. So this would have been, we got to Iraq in middle of September 2005. We were down around Hit, which is just a little bit north of Ramadi, out along the Euphrates. We moved up into what they call the Triad, which is Haditha, Haqqaniya, Barwana, and we essentially put one company in each of those places. So we were in Haqqaniya. We took over for an entire battalion of the 82nd Airborne, the Blue Devils, so I don't know which battalion that was. There was a lot of friction. Those guys had taken some casualties, and I guess there was some friction as far as, like, they tried to call in Marine Air for an evac, and it didn't come as fast, or something like that. I don't know. Obviously, things that I personally have nothing to do with, but there was a lot of friction when we took over, and their company, their battalion commander said something to the effect of, like to our company commander, like, good luck to you guys. We found all the weapons and stuff, so you guys probably won't have anything to do here. And it was about the most incorrect statement I think I've ever been a part of before. So what we did when we took over, once we'd finally completed our RIP, our relief in place of them, we did an operation, and essentially what it was we kind of kept up what would be our normal, like, patrolling schedule, I guess you could call it. But whatever sectors you were assigned to patrol, you were to take the PSS-12, so the mine detector, the metal detector, with you, and you were to sweep every square inch of whatever sector that you managed to get through during an allotted time. So, obviously, so we weren't just out strictly, dawn to dusk, so we were out for a certain amount of time. But basically, let's say we covered these, these 3 square blocks by 3 square blocks. Well, we would mark that off, that this is what we swept, and then the next squad from the next platoon or whatever it was that was coming out would essentially just work off of that and go to the next spot. And so essentially what you have is an entire city that we like mine swept every square inch of it, and we found so much shit, like, it boggles the fucking mind. We found, like, assembled and set up but buried 82 millimeter mortar systems, lots and lots of machine guns, rifles, and stuff like that. Just like explosives, artillery shells, IEDs, like pre-made IEDs. One that we found a lot of there with IEDs was they would make an IED, and then they would cover it with like a bag that like concrete, like Sackcrete comes in, and then tape it up. So it would, like, from the outside, it would kind of look like a bag of concrete. But then it would have this, like, fuse of this big length of det cord coming off of it. So, it's actually a really smart way to camouflage it. But I cannot emphasize how much fucking shit we found, which basically tells us that, one, our tactic, and our company commander came up with this, was fucking spot on, awesome idea, and that the people we replaced, they were not doing their job. They didn't do the thing they were supposed to, because a lot of the stuff that we found was, like, buried, like actually buried. I had to dig it up with a shovel and a pick or whatever else. But a fair amount of the stuff, and I remember specifically because my squad, my guys with the PSS-12 in my squad found this, and it was literally just right next to, like, an unfinished, like, one-story building in kind of some loose gravel, and it was literally 3 RPKs, and all it was like the RPKs had been set down, and someone had just covered them with, like, a couple shovels of gravel. So you imagine that somebody could have done that at any time. It's not, you could have just, we didn't have to dig them up. We just went over there and we're like, oh, hey, cool, pull those up. So that was an unbelievably great tactic, basically just sectioning it off. And, like, so we didn't do any real, I guess you could say, like, just quote unquote, like, walking around not doing anything patrols at first. It was just, so what we essentially did is, if you want to think of it this way, is we essentially just squeegee cleaned and returned our AO to 0 so that we could start with, 0 on the scoreboard for us, 0 on the scoreboard for them, and then start the game over. And it's not at all surprising why we had almost nothing, no attempts against us by the enemy on that deployment, because we took their stuff, and then they realized, hey, we can move further down the river and just go fuck with someone else until this unit leaves. So it was very very good tactic on that one. Probably only have time for 2 of these on this first video, I suppose, because that took me a while to say. And so then another really effective tactic that we had, and I guess I'll stick with that deployment and kind of finish out this video, is basically everybody in my platoon, so the 3 squads, and I was in 3rd platoon, we all did bounding Overwatch, and I've talked about this with satellite patrolling. I've gone on and on and on about it, but it changed the entire nature of the game in what we did. Especially the area we were at there was right against the river. It was kind of odd because there was kind of like some hills, some areas of like higher elevation within the town itself and stuff. Now, I guess one of the problems is that the buildings that make sense to kind of set someone up, one of the teams in for observation while the other teams are patrolling, and while we're bounding and rolling on each other, are kind of limited, and you kind of are always getting funneled into the same ones. So that is one that you have to be careful of, and I don't know that we did a good enough job of like rotating that, because just be honest, it's like there was like a 4-story hotel. No shit, it was bigger than that. There was a big ass hotel anyways on the one side of right against the river, and then there was another building kind of up on this hill we called the Castle. And then if you're up on the other side of town, there's like a couple of buildings that were sort of like 2-story buildings that kind of overlooked the Wadi and some other stuff. So you kind of would always just get sort of like, funneled into these places. So you have to be careful with that. But fundamentally, the idea of just having that constant rolling, overlapping, bounding Overwatch patrol was awesome. I think it's one of the things that, paired with finding essentially all the stuff, in the AO, or in our immediate AO, was one of the things that kind of really kept the enemy away from us, and more or less just made him decide to go somewhere else, because not like a bragging way. Like, we were a unit that was very experienced, and we had a very good command structure from the company on down. Our company commander was very, very good. All the platoon sergeants rather, were all Fallujah vets. Half the platoon commanders were, and then most of the Marines were, especially in like the squad leader, team leader roles. So we're just very very experienced, and I think the enemy realizes like, hey, it's just like, why fuck with the unit that looks to be pretty good at what they're doing when you could go somewhere else and fuck with somebody else and come back once this unit leaves, which is what they did. Like when we got relieved, they came back and definitely fucked with the units after us a lot more. But I'll probably roll this into another video. But remember, guys, only the hits count, and you can never miss fast enough to catch back up.